Okay guys, well I thought I'd do another video just to give you some more information in regards to how souls are manifest materially, because in the last video I didn't actually include the process of the sun and the moon and how this is actually how we are materially created from the thought projection of the Creator as souls from Atum, which we covered in the last video. Our souls come from Atum. Our conscious aspect is created when we are emanated as twin souls from Orion. And there were 144 divine tribes of man seeded onto foundation through the sun and the moon, and from the 144 divine tribes within mankind, all other mankind has been created. So think of them as a literal carbon copy, because souls are required to have a material physicality for them to experience themselves fully. And so for a soul to experience creation, it must be manifest materially. And this is what the sun does. And when we hear of the term star seeds, it really isn't a term talking about coming from another star system or another planet. It's talking about seeding divine man through the sun, through our star, onto foundation. And we can see this in the myth of Castor and Pollux, in the myth of Leda, where mankind are birthed onto foundation and are directly emanating from a creator, from a source. And so in the last video I explained the macrocosm and the microcosm of creation and of this process. And so in this video I will cover the role of the sun and the moon. And now most of the students that have followed this information would know that the basic laws within the universal principles are that the sun is symbolic for matter and the material and physical, and the moon is symbolic for the ether. And so this is exactly what is required in the process of the soul emanating from Orion, from our Creator's mental projection onto our soul as a facet and a fractal of him and her, because remember, the Creator is androgynous and then splits upon emanation. And so the sun is then a part of this material process of birthing the soul onto foundation, and is required for the soul to continue to exist. Think of the sun as almost a type of lens that materially manifests the holographic projection of the Creator in Orion. And the moon is representing the female aspects, the female creational forces. There is no coincidence that the cycle of a female is 28 days and the cycle of the moon is 28 days. So think of the moon as the macrocosm of the creational aspect of the female. And so that is also required in creating a soul's experience within the physical as well. The moon has to have a part in this process of birthing these souls into a physical form, a physical container, so to speak. And this is done through the solar plexus. Now, anyone finding this information for the first time, you will have to go and have a look at that information. It's in all of the playlists. It's all on my channel, because otherwise these videos turn into hour-long videos, because I'm going over processes that are well known to any of the students that have followed this information from the beginning. So I really do recommend, to save me having to go into all of the processes, and just really try and focus on the main aspects of everything, go back and have a look at the playlists and become familiar with the information and the processes, so that when you are looking at this, you have an understanding for it and you don't need me to fully explain every single process in absolute detail. And so the sun is, as I said, all a part of this physical manifestation of man, and we are manifest through the heart. The heart is formed at 20 days, and that is the part of ourselves that is materially created as an extension from the sun, and then we emanate outwards up to our third eye. And we basically can see our third eye and our heart as two black holes, because they are vortexes that are connected still at all times to Orion, to Creator. However, it's only our soul, our ka, that is connected to each other, as in the world soul. And I've gone through this in previous videos, how we are intellectually and consciously individual facets of this emanation of the Creator. And so we even see that in the Chariot card. Now, this is in the Mystery Teachings, and it goes fully into why the Chariot card represents all this, so I would definitely recommend go back and have a look at that. But basically, we've got the heart represented here, as well as the third eye, and both are showing a vortex. And so we can see this is a spinning top, and we know what spinning tops do, and this is representing the vortex that we have in our heart. We even see it on this alchemy drawing. The heart is the vortex. Okay? The throat is very important, and people often do not pay attention to the throat chakra, whereas the throat chakra determines whether you return to source and make judgment. And the reason that we've got Thoth symbolized in the divine male is that he is the bridge to divine wisdom, because it's his illumination that allows the divine female to access understanding. Without the illumination of the divine wisdom working through the Ark of the Covenant, then the divine female would not be illuminating and having an understanding for all the information. This is how it all works. And so we can pretty much see that we've got the sun connected to the heart, and we've got the heart connected to creation, as well as the solar plexus, which is where we are birthed into as souls. So this process is basically showing that we come in through the solar plexus. Our ka is existing around the solar plexus and attached to the heart. And the heart is basically the go-between the third eye consciousness ba and the ka in the solar plexus. and they are all connected, but basically they go through the heart, and the heart is connected to the sun, and as I said, where everything else then emanates out from within creation, even though the soul is actually birthed in through the navel. Even though that's what the process shows, it's still the heart where we are mainly connected and attached to Creator. And you can see that with even those archetypal pictures of Jesus Christ holding the flaming heart connected to the sun. We've also got on the tree of life, the number 6 is also showing a connection to the sun. Okay, that's the symbol of the sun. And so we can see again and again there is a connection to the heart. The Lover's card is a number 6. We know the Lover's card in the tarot also symbolises the heart. So again, number 6, manifestation of the physical onto foundation through the heart. Lovers, denoting that aspect of the heart as well in the symbolism. And then the number 6. So again, we can see that it is the sun that provides us a material form, and it all starts through the heart, and the ethereal comes in through the solar plexus, the navel, and that's where we actually reside as a ka, whereas our ba part of our consciousness and soul resides in our third eye, and this is where our personality and our identity resides in our ba. So again, we've discussed this in previous videos, so I'm not going to go back all through that again either. So let's go on and have a look what else I've found. And I found this very interesting Kabbalah diagram. And it's basically showing the same thing. We've got the sun here through the hexagram, and mankind being birth through. We've got the moon here at the sacrum. We can see at the sacrum here where man is lying, that the moon is. We've got the earth here, and we've even got the tribes represented with the 4 creatures. Eagle, man, bull and lion are all represented, and we have the man here shown with the 5 elements because unfortunately, they've removed the ether, and I've also mentioned this in other videos, how basically everyone is still half blind while they're not accounting for ether. If you are not accounting for ether and you are not accounting for the cycles in your research and theories, then you really have to go back and start to look at these very important factors within creation and within all of the laws that govern creation. Because if you remove the ether, then you remove the importance of the cycle that we're in and how we know that we're moving back into the cycle of the ether. Because we are in this constant tide coming in, tide coming out. Think of the ether as the tide coming in and the tide coming out. And when summer comes back, the tide's in. And when the tide goes out, we're in winter, and we're in the lowest consciousness, where we're basically now existing. But we are really where we are artificially, because when we started illuminating, they had already placed programs there to keep us unaware of who we are. So we really should be far more illuminated than we are, but people are asleep to the truth of who they are as a soul, of what death really represents, which is just a doorway, and nobody should fear death. It's just a doorway. However, we are now coming to the second death, which is very different from physical death throughout the 26,000 year incarnation, because the second death, if you're a mortal and you do not have enough light in your heart, then mortals will not be able to pass through back up to source at the end of the cycle. And this is what is called judgment and the halls of Mayat, is this, once again, intermediate consciousness. And think of the soul at the end of the cycle, once the 26,000 year cycle has completed and we're now being drawn back to our creator, think of it as this magnetic pull back to source, because it's all an organic process. And so as we're getting drawn back up to source, we will all have to once again come through the intermediate consciousness. And this is where the light within the soul will need to be heavy enough to be sustained, moving through the, hall of judgment, basically. And this is what the ancient Egyptians understood. And this is what those that have taken this information also understand, which is why they absolutely have been hell-bent on making us as debased and, removed from our hearts as they can. And basically made people to believe that it doesn't matter if you're a good person, as long as you're successful, as long as you've got money, all's fair in love and war, you can do what you like in business. At the end of the day, it's all about, the numbers. And this is all the illusion that Rome has enacted upon mankind, because the truth is it's always been about what's in the heart. It's always been the importance of a soul to maintain integrity, no matter what test and what challenge is placed before us on our destiny, that we must, at all times maintain integrity. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't think that's important now, and so they've been tricked, because the truth shows that it's basically a organic process where we are in a cycle of, there is a first emanation of the divine rays. This happens once when we're all created with the whole solar system, I would suspect, but it would be an instantaneous process of where the first emanation seeds onto foundation, and then after that, that cycle just continues of returning to the creator at the end of every 26,000 years. It's like this embrace once again. And so this is how it's basically been relayed throughout mythology, but people have not been able to understand the symbolism and read it literally, instead of understanding that each of the gods is responsible for a process. So each of the gods would be responsible for a door and a process that I'm not yet aware of. I haven't found information of the exact processes, but there would be. And you would know that each god would be representing one of those processes. This is how they actually remembered the information, and it became a part of them, a part of their understanding. And this is what this information has to become to everybody. Just as you know that the sun comes up, you know that a part of you is ethereal and you are a soul, and you do not have to fear a physical death. And you must always, just keep integrity as a good person. It's not about going and being a saint. It's just about having good intent and goodwill towards mankind and towards others, and being helpful when you can. It's not about being, fucked over by people and having to just take it because you're this spiritual person and you don't ever say anything bad or in conflict. That's not it either. You have to defend your divinity, defend your creation, defend your creator, defend Mother Earth, who allows you to exist. You can't just be impartial to this, especially when it's under attack. But unfortunately, most of the planet are. And so we continue to descend into hell, and we will continue to descend into hell, which is just part of the cycle again. So, yeah, and I wanted to also show you just this gospel here from the Gospel of Thomas, this parable. 19, Jesus said, "Congratulations to the one who came into being before coming into being. If you become my disciples and pay attention to my sayings, these stones will serve you." Now, stones are laws, okay? Because if we look at the pentacle and what that represents, and the pentagram, and the tribe of Judah, it's all about the stone of destiny, the stone of law. It's unchanging. It's like the sun will always rise. It's a law that does not change. And so this is what stones mean. And so all of this interpretation in the Bible, when you see them talking about stones, needs to be looked at with an entirely different perspective. But unfortunately, as I've said, people that are not very conscious actually look at these words and take them literally, and then unfortunately a lot of them use them in a negative way. And this is just because they just have no understanding of truth and no understanding of how to actually read beneath the words, the story, the symbolism. So it goes on to say, "For there are 5 trees in paradise for you. They do not change, summer or winter, and their leaves do not fall. Whoever knows them will not taste death." So I'll just read that again. "For there are 5 trees in paradise for you. They do not change, summer or winter, and their leaves do not fall. Whoever knows them will not taste death." And this is what I am talking about again with the hand placed on foundation, the hand of the Creator, each of the fingers representing the Messiah tribe of each race, the thumb representing the Creator, and that is basically unchanging onto foundation and never changes regardless of whether we are in the winter of the galactic cycle, because it's all to do with the galactic cycle in summer and winter, and that's what we are influenced by. And so basically that is what then we have to experience in the lower conscious part of the cycle. But the 5 trees remain regardless. They will always be there, and that connection to the Creator will always be there. However, our connection through our memory of who we are and our divinity will wane and illuminate, just like the moon goes into full moon and full illumination and then wanes. It's the same with the divinity within mankind. You can think of it the same way. And so we're now heading back to full illumination. And so, yeah, I just wanted to show you that this also is symbolic of this unchanging intermediate consciousness that remains regardless of what part of the cycle we're in. It's always there. However, our access to it just changes through our illumination of divinity. And that's also as to whether we get information, okay, as to what part of the cycle we are in. We can have access to information from the divine intelligence, our Creator. So I hope I've explained that and not left anything out. As I said, it's kind of hard to show these diagrams and then try and bring everything in one video, because there is so much information and knowledge to understanding thyself. You are not going to really just hear about it in one 30-minute video. It's going to take you applying yourself to the knowledge. You have to learn hermetics. You have to have an understanding for the laws and principles under what all creation is governed to begin with. And these laws have been completely removed from all of our education systems, we're really tied into the model that was given to us by the Catholics, which is the Big Bang theory. The Catholics were responsible. It was the Catholic priest that was responsible for that theory. That also Darwin saying that we just start and emanate from one point and only ever continue onwards and forwards, which is once again incorrect and goes against all the laws of nature. So you can see where they've gone to lead man off the correct path. But when you actually do, once again, see the truth to our existence, you can see how beautiful it is and how harmonious it is and how logical it is. And so, yeah, I just hope more people start seeing this information and understanding who they are, because that's how we illuminate, when we understand the truth of our divinity, because that's when our power starts, when we have no fear of death and we have no fear of their illusions anymore. Anyway, I'll leave it there, and as always, peace out.